What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Movie Magic Reviews, brought to you by Megadads. I'm Antonio, aka Hypecaster, joined by my best buddy Clay, and today we're talking about the new film Deadpool and Wolverine to let you know if it's worth your time, if it's worth your money, if you should see it. Before we begin, reminder that we start talking spoiler free. It's a spoiler-free review discussion about the movie, and then at the very end, after we warn you, we talk some spoilers. At the very end, let's talk spoiler-free about Deadpool Wolverine. Deadpool Wolverine is new in theaters. We are actually just both saw it right now, so it's super exciting. Directed by Sean Levy, written by Ryan Reynolds, Reed Reese, and Paul Wernick, starring none other than Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Emma Corrin. And yeah, a little synopsis for you. Not that you really need it, but everyone knows what this movie is right now. Wolverine is recovering from his injuries when he crosses paths with the loudmouth Deadpool. They team up to defeat a common enemy. Wow.
So vague. I love it.
It's super vague, yeah. Let's dive right in. What'd you think of the flick? Clay? I'll let you go first. You have the honors.
Yeah, I loved it. I had a great time.
Me too.
I laughed. I laughed my butt off. I went with my wife and a friend of ours, and we just laughed and had a great time. I think it's on par with the other two. I'd have to rewatch the first one and the second one just to be able to like figure out where it would rank in my favorites or how it would rank against the other two. But man, it's exactly what I expected it to be, and so it checked off all the boxes that I was hoping for. And it was full of cameos and other cool references and fun things that we all came to expect. And so I thought they did a great job with it, and really good to see that even post buyout with Disney buying out the studio and all that. And so it was good to see that we can still have a proper Deadpool movie despite the fact that it's owned by Disney. So that was really cool. Yeah, overall it was funny. There were so many good lines, so many that are really fast, just quick lines that if you're not really paying attention, you'll miss it. And so there's like high replayability of going back to see this again. I would love to go back and watch it again. There were some really cool action sequences that you need to watch a couple times to kind of take it all in. And so I'm hoping to go see it again at some point. But man, I was very happy with it. Not to get too quick and get too deep into it real fast, but the plot was a little lacking at times and maybe was a little surface level, but it didn't really matter. Like, it wasn't a huge deal with it. It had so many other good things going for it that like it didn't really bother me a whole lot. But overall, I enjoyed it from start to finish, and I wonder if it'll be the end of Deadpool, if there'll be more. We'll see, but man, it was a blast. I had a great time. I was so glad to see Hugh Jackman back, and I think he nailed it. So
I think you literally hit point for point everything that's kind of worth talking about.
sorry.
Like every single thing, and I'm in basically 100% agreement with you. It was an amazing time. If you have to rank it up against the other Deadpools, I think hands down it is the best of the trilogy, because I had to go back and watch the recap of the first two, and they were largely forgettable. I'm like, what happens? Who does he fight? Like, what are the plot points? And like, we go from like origin story to let's get really weird in the other ones. And then it's like, this one gives you all the Deadpool quirkiness with higher stakes. And higher stakes is the wrong word, but with more fan service and even more fourth wall breaking and even more, like, it's just more. And you bring up a good point about the pacing. It goes quick. A lot kind of goes down with the dialogue quips and the funny gags and references. My favorite thing about the movie had to be the crowd reaction, because some of the points hit so well that there's just that laughter applause in the theater that happens a few times that I haven't felt since Endgame. And the that like come together moment, like this is a payoff of something that was built up to, hits. And I'm glad that they went as far as they did. I could have used even a little bit more. We could talk in the spoiler section about it, but I wanted one thing in particular that didn't happen. And I
Mm,
was like, man, I hope they push it to that level. But they, when you have this like um multiverse, like time travel, how are they gonna come together and how are they gonna, bring Wolverine back and all this stuff? Like they could really, it sets up a plot where you can do anything, right? Like they could really do whatever they wanted. And what they ended up doing was satisfying, but I also could have it left me wishing for more, but still satisfied. It's hard to explain when you're talking spoiler free, but I agree with you 100% about the action. It's action packed. It is so much action.
hmm
And I'm going to see the movie again, and I'm glad that I am. So super fun throughout the whole time, and it has faults, but overall just a really good movie by Marvel standards. And they talk about everything fourth wall breaking. It's like you talk about it and the movie's already like commenting on itself as it's going. It's pretty genius. They both nail it. Like you said, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, and Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. They are those characters, and they seeing them together, it was just great. Great. Any other thoughts? Anything else that I mean, I don't really know if there's anything else to say on a spoiler free
I,
take.
the only other thing I'll say, and I already kind of hit on this, I do think that Hugh Jackman did a really good job with this. I mean, it could have just been him like dropping f bombs the whole time and being grumpy, and
Hmm.
but like they actually showed a little bit of depth. I don't know if it's like on par with what they got out of him from some of the other movies, like Logan
Yeah.
included, but there were a couple times where it was like there was like a bonfire scene where he's kind of talking through some stuff in his past, and it was like,
Yeah. It
man,
hit.
like it was really good. Like he's
It
very
hit.
believable,
Yeah.
and he's not just a grumpy old like Wolverine, but he's got some depth and he's got some pain, and I think Hugh Jackman did a really good job with it. Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds. He nails it every time. So
Hmm.
there wasn't a lot of range there. It's just it was all good stuff, and it was all what you came to expect. But Hugh Jackman actually impressed me a couple times where I was like, wow, he's actually doing a lot, and he did a lot more acting with the mask off than I felt like Ryan Reynolds did. Um,
Hmm.
Deadpool was in costume a lot more, and so you didn't see as much facial stuff, and so it was more about the voice acting and the delivery and all that stuff, and the funny writing. But I was really impressed with Hugh Jackman, so I just figured I'd throw that out there too. So
The big con for me was the plot holes, because when you have any Deadpool movie, because of his powers of like he's super hard to kill, almost in like almost like he can't be killed, and then it's like you add in the time travel elements, you add in like all this stuff, and then it becomes holes everywhere. Like reasoning behind why things are happening, connecting the scene to scene doesn't always work. It's like, okay, now we're doing this. The big bad, like, it has issues because of who it is and what they do, and it doesn't always make sense and add up. And sometimes it is action for action's sake, and like, oh, we really wanted to do this, so let's do it. And it's just kind of bonkers off the wall, where I think when it's more grounded and it has more impact, like a movie like Logan, right? It was totally like, it's still a Marvel superhero well, it's still a movie, a superhero movie, but now let's get really deep into the characters. It's like it's not totally that. So it's kind of like this big monumentous payoff, but a little bit like a little too zany in certain points, a little too like, let's do this now. And it's, yeah, there are some issues with it, which keeps it from earning a complete 5 star in my book, actually. So star rating, Clay, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I won't call it a perfect movie by any means. Thought the plot was a little generic, but they also make fun of the fact that it is, so
Yes,
it
they
kind
do.
of it gives it a little bit of a pass.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I don't know.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's still really really good and really enjoyable. And I mean, the only reason I would tell someone not to go see this is if they're just thrown off by the crass humor or the gore or whatever. But other than that, I think everybody should see it who's into that kind of stuff. So,
I
but
agree with you. 4 out of 5. So solid. It was like right up against like a 4.5. It was just so. It was so fun and enjoyable. And funny you say that because an old lady sitting next to me who was probably dragged by their kids or something like that stands up and says, "That was the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen," and just like walks out. And everybody else is like waiting for like end credit type stuff, right? So everybody hears her and just like laughs and
wow.
like just like she walks off. But like, if you're an old lady seeing this and you don't know anything about Marvel, which probably she did, she's just like, "What the hell is this?" All right, now thank you very much for joining us, everybody. After you see the movie, come back and listen to this next part because we're about to talk spoilers. This is your warning. We're going to talk spoilers now. We have to talk about it. Clay, what do we have to talk about?
Well, there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
There is a lot. There's a lot. Let me talk about the what didn't work, right?
Okay.
No, let me talk about what I wanted to see. First of all, I wanted, if of all the cameos that could have happened besides Taylor Swift, because I really wanted her to be Lady Deadpool.
Right.
It actually sounded like her in the beginning, but anyway, I really wanted X-Men, like the team, to come back in some way where it's like he gets another chance to fight with them or something like that. And I was waiting for more Fox X-Men, like, if Jean would have showed up, or like, Cyclops and stuff like that. I thought that would have been really cool. So that's what I wanted. Was there anything that you really wanted cameo wise, or things that you wanted to happen in the movie?
Um, that's a great question. Not really. I kind of went in just open to whatever, and
Yeah.
was kind of just ready to see whatever they wanted to throw at us, and so I didn't really have big expectations.
Were you satisfied with what we got? I mean,
Yeah,
let's talk about the cameos, the big
yeah.
ones.
So
Which is the biggest? Oh
my
my
favorite,
god.
my favorite was the Chris Evans bit,
Yes, that was
where
awesome.
he shows up and you're like, oh, he's it's Captain America, and even I was like, why is his hair so weird? Like something's off. But
His build was all different too.
I didn't
Yeah.
think about it, and all of a sudden he flamed on and started flying around, and I was just like, you son of a gun, you guys got me. Like I was actually really
Yeah.
impressed that they kind of did a little bait and switch there. There's
The
not
theater
many.
cheered. The
Did they
theater
really?
was laughing and cheering in that moment. Yeah, it
There's not
worked.
many actors that can do that, where you can have them show up to play. Everyone thinks they're going to be one Marvel character, and then they can turn around and be a different Marvel character. So like that was hilarious, and I was really happy with that. I thought that was super well done. I appreciated that he stuck around for a couple scenes, even made it into the post credit scene. Thought that was hilarious. Just fun to see him play a character that I haven't seen the original Fantastic Four movies since the early 2000s when they came out or whatever.
Yep.
So that one, and then I really appreciated the Gambit Channing Tatum
He
cameo.
finally became a superhero. He finally
Right?
did it. He's been wanting to be one.
We've
Wow.
heard rumors of a Channing Tatum Gambit movie for years. Never happened. I'm glad they didn't bring back the guy that played him in that one Wolverine movie. It was just kind
Yeah.
of like forgetful, and so this was kind of an interesting way. And like Tatum's like southern Louisiana drawl
accent.
was
Yeah.
terrible, but
He
it was
looked
like,
so shitty, dude. I'm
yeah,
sorry, but
and
Gambit looked
they went
by
straight
design, I guess.
right.
But
I
he
think they
looked
went for like a
terrible.
very straight, like this is what he looked like in the comics or the show or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't try to like make him look cool. He just kind of was what he was, and like they just made fun of his accent the whole time, and nobody could understand him, and it was just hilarious. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I loved that. So there was other ones, but those were my two favorite, and I thought that the Gambit one reminded me a lot of John Krasinski playing one of the Fantastic Four guys. I can't freaking remember
I
his
know who
name.
you're talking about. He was the Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Right?
like it was something where there were rumors that maybe John Krasinski was going to be in the Fantastic Four movie, but then he actually isn't now. And so it's like, I just love that like Marvel's like, hey, there was rumors of this, let's like make it happen. And they kind of did a
Yeah.
little bit of that in the Flash with DC with where they did some like rumor things that never happened, Nick Cage playing Superman or whatever. But I love that kind of stuff where it's like it never was actually real, but in some weird universe it does exist. And so I always enjoy those. I think those are so fun. So
I loved all the cameos. I mean, Wesley Snipes. I was like, no fucking way
right.
is Blade here right now. Like Electro. I love how they name all the problematic like superheroes that could have been in it that die, and it's like Quicksilver, like Daredevil, like all these people who like they're still like in the air, like they're kind of in, kind of out. They have like too many iterations, like all this shit. It like they break the fourth wall so many times, and of all the ones that I think was most impressive was when Deadpool just says like, "Hey Fox, fuck you, like I'm with Disney now," just like breaks the fourth wall, like shakes and breaks the camera, and
Yep.
just like,
Yep.
how in the world, when you talk about licensing agreements and like who owns what, fucking Fox just was just like, I don't know if they paid the money or they were just like, let's come together for this artistic like renaissance like moment of let's let them make something cool and license out all this shit. Like it just didn't, it was just so weird. Like who lets like the Fox logo be there and like them just like he's like dick joking Disney like left and right. I'm like, how in the fuck? And this is gonna be on Disney Plus one day, and
Right.
it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how did they get away with it? What, they just let it happen, and it wasn't like this before. I remember a time where it's like they'd be like, no, it can't happen, no way. And now all of a sudden we have a rated R Deadpool in the hands of Disney with Deadpool saying fuck everyone, like I can do what I want here and have the greatest time of my life. They had fun with
Oh
this
yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah.
The big bad being Xavier's twin. I'm not a big comic person. Is this a thing? Because it totally could
I
be that
don't
I'm not
know.
privy
I
to.
don't know. And we probably could hit on this in the pre-spoilers, but the villain just wasn't like the biggest home run.
I was hoping it would be someone that you'd be like, oh wow, it's them, instead of like, oh, by the way, origin story really quick, like I'm a twin. It just didn't
Yeah.
work for me. Like if it was like Sinister or, an evil version of someone, I don't know. It could, that's the thing. You had license to do whatever you wanted, and that's what you did. And it was just like, did it have to be someone with, mind powers? That's too powerful in my book. And they literally are like one-shotting people. I just didn't like it, and especially at the moment. And this, we had the same discussion with the Fallout TV show review that we did. Take the helmet off, help us. You're evil, but all of a sudden have a turnaround moment where you're gonna help us. It's like, hey, Dad, give him the key. Like just like in the Fallout TV show, it was like, why is this person who is gonna be out of character somehow going to do something good right now for no good reason? Made no sense. And that was one of the biggest bummers to me, is kind of how they did that.
Well, she was gonna die. She had bullets in her, and if they didn't
Yeah,
take the
but she's
helmet
like,
off, she
you
was
take
gonna
this
die.
helmet off, I'm going to kill you. And then he talks her into like helping them,
Well,
like
they
quickly.
saved her life. I mean, they basically
Yeah, but
trusted that she wouldn't kill them. They saved her
ugh,
life by removing the helmet. The bullets or whatever left her body, and so she literally says, "For saving my life, like I'm gonna let you go, and here's a portal." And then
clunky. Yeah, but then
yeah, and then
goes
turns
and like
around
fights
and
with them like
right.
5 minutes later. Like anyway, there's holes throughout the whole movie as far as why we're doing what we're doing. But you're having too much fun to care. Like I was just like, fuck it. Like let's go. At a certain point after like the next thing was like, oh, okay, that's weird. I'm just like trying to enjoy what's happening in front of me.
Yeah.
Opening scene was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I want to talk about that real fast. I loved that a lot of people when they heard that Wolverine was coming back, their immediate response was, "But well, Logan ended on such a good note. Like they did it such a good
Yeah.
service. Like why dance on the grave of
Yeah.
Logan? And then what do? They literally turn around and they dance on his grave, like
They
almost
desecrated
figuratively.
the whole
They
thing.
literally pull his body out. He's this metal skeleton, and then they use the opening credit scenes to the song of "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC, and he kills a bunch of people using the bones of Logan. Like you couldn't have been any more like intentionally like F you internet, we're gonna do exactly what you're like afraid that we're gonna
Absolutely.
do. It's just like
Yep.
this is, you get what you get, like you get what you deserve, internet. You made such a big deal about it that now Ryan Reynolds is like, well, F you, we're gonna do it even more now that you've said that. And I thought that was hilarious.
The first Wolverine cameo, he's like, cue the cameo. We gotta go and find a Wolverine, which is this like little mini mission that doesn't amount to like anything. It's just like a plot point to kind of get them together. But it's like, let me go search for a Wolverine. And they reenact some of the most iconic moments of Wolverine and different comic book covers and different like styles, and like the fact that like Wolverine's like canonically like short, like all these things are going down, and I'm like, holy fuck, they're just going for it so early. Like anything that they wanted to do, it was just like like a dream come true of like callbacks, and like it was just fantastic. I was like rolling. I was like, I can't believe they're doing what they're doing every 10 minutes. I was like, they are just going for it. These fights that they have, he's like, all right, everybody, internet, like you're about to see Deadpool and Wolverine fight. I bet you wanted to see that. And just like he's like, get ready. This is happening right now. They fight a lot too.
Yeah.
They must fight like 3-4 times or some shit. And it
Mm-hmm.
just it never stops being cool. Like it's gruesome. The movie is gruesome and
Yeah.
crunchy, and it was good. About 3/4 of the way through, I was kind of like, why like I can see that they're just trying to do the next thing, like especially when we get to like the fight with the Deadpools. It's like, okay, I guess I get it, but why are we doing this? And it's like, let's have this fight and then just have them regenerate. It's like, I don't know. And then they put their weapons down and it's just like, hey, here's our king, Deadpool. Like it's just nothing. Some things just didn't make sense, and therefore didn't pay off for me. um can I tell you something bothered me a lot?
Sure.
He's not with the girl because they had a fight about him not reaching his potential. And like because I was like, I like the fact that they got together, that he saved her.
Right.
And then I'm thinking they're going to be at, maybe they tear them apart one more time, but instead it's like they've chosen not to be together, and they kind of allude to this and then they flash back to the reason kind of why, and then it doesn't make sense. I'm like, why not just let him be with her? I'm like, they needed a plot device. Like
Right. I
the
mean
whole
that.
movie could have worked with them just being together,
Yeah,
and
that's
maybe he would have
true.
cared. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it all kind of went back to he got rejected from the Avengers. He didn't know where he fit in the world. He didn't know where he fit in as Deadpool, so then he tried to make it as Wade, and he's selling used cars and he's miserable. And basically he like couldn't get it up. Like he got to this point where he couldn't like be himself, and it was affecting his relationship with her, to the point where she was like you're distant, you're not here, you're not present, because he was lost and didn't know where he fit into, like where he was supposed to be. And so this whole movie was about him, and then Logan also trying to figure out like where do you fit in, where do you belong. And at the end, like I think he realized being with his friends is where he needed to be, and then he like brought Logan in with it, which I thought was kind of a cool move, like a good little move. But yeah, I see what you mean, where whether or not he's with her or not, he still loves her and was doing it for her regardless.
Hmm.
I'm glad they got together at the end again, because the whole reason Deadpool was ever a thing was because he tried to overcome cancer so that he didn't die and lose her. And so and then the second movie goes back in time to save her from getting killed, and so it's always been about her. um But I think this one, they wanted to kind of get away from her a little bit and focus it more on him, like
Hmm.
trying to figure out like what is his purpose. And the reason he joined the TVA initially was because he wanted to be a hero. He wanted to mean something. He wanted to make an impact. And so I think it all kind of worked along that. But I see where you're coming from to a degree.
So the TVA guy brings Deadpool along. He's like, "Hey, they told me to bring you here, but FYI, at the same time, I'm kind of letting you in on this plot that I'm gonna destroy your timeline, and I'm also doing it without the TVA's like knowledge." And both those things mixing together makes a situation where you're gonna obviously be pissed and break my nose and try to escape and all this shit, but we just armed you to the teeth. So it was all very messy. I didn't like the TVA guy, bad guy, especially because it's like I didn't like him at all. I didn't like the actor. I didn't like, what he was going for at all. Not that you have to like, I guess, every single person in the movie, but I'm like, if they would have picked another maybe he's from Loki and I don't know about it because I didn't see season 2. But anyway, I didn't like this dude, the Panda Paradox guy.
I thought he was fine. He had a couple good lines, and he's a decent actor. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting
And
plot character kind of thing.
like the movie's fantastic, nothing changes. But just spoiling and talking about questions I have is at the end, they're like, "Oh, we can't bring the X-Men back and undo this Wolverine's past, but we can bring X-23 back at the very end because why?" Like it's like X-23 is supposed to be swallowed up by the creature thing at the end of
You're
the
overthinking it too
fight.
much. You're
And
overthinking
then
it
they
too
bring
much.
X-23 back. It's like, "Oh yeah, but we can't undo your past." It's like Deadpool's like, "Oh,
It's
my
fine.
forgotten friends, like can
It,
you save
yeah,
Blade and Elektra and all that?"
Blade and Elektra and all them being down there didn't make a whole lot of sense. I wouldn't overthink it. They
It'd
needed
be
care.
cool if they all went through the portal and had the final fight with the Deadpools. Like
Yeah, they
fuck
can't
it.
afford to keep them that long though.
Yeah, they
That
mentioned
Wesley
this.
Snipes
They're like, the
money.
budget. We got to kill this person off right now for the budget. Fucking amazing. I wanted I it I was sitting there in the theater, like breath taken away when Deadpool trades places with Wolverine and wants to be the sacrifice to like end the MacGuffin machine from doing what it's gonna do. It's like finally this thing will vaporize you whether your regenerative powers or not. And I'm like, okay, now we got stakes. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And then you're thinking, okay, this is how they retire Hugh Jackman in this like blaze of glory. And then fucking Deadpool switches. And I'm over here. I swear, dude, I think I cried like at least 2, 3 tears. And he does this like Spock slash like move where he takes his place. I thought it was profound and I was ready to be like, this is fucking awesome because we've had 3 Deadpool movies. He doesn't make sense when he's in other movies. He can't be an Avenger. He's too powerful in being like regenerated. Like it just doesn't work. Let's retire him. Like it's fine. Let's do it. And I thought this was going to be the like last Deadpool movie and that he was going to die. That's what I thought was going to happen. And I was going to be like, now this is some Avengers level shit. And then they like retcon it. Like then they have Wolverine come in and they both save the day and then they both survive. And I was just like, fuck. I didn't want that. I did. What did you think?
it was fine. I knew they weren't gonna kill either. I thought maybe they'd kill Wolverine off just because it seems like he's done. But dude, they left his character very open. He is
Oh yeah.
alive and he's in our world right now, like
Is
of
that
Marvel.
Abs? Was that him?
I wondered the same thing. I think it is because he
Because if
walks
it
out
is, then
after.
he's like, fuck everyone. Like, I can do this till I'm 90.
Dude,
Like, he's
it's
like,
crazy.
they're gonna make you do this till you're 90. He looks so fucking fit. And it's like, is that really him? Did he do it? Did he get into Wolverine shape? like that?
He might have. I mean, he's in a costume the rest of the time, so it's
You don't
possible that
know.
maybe it's not him. But
Maybe
what
not.
did you think of the costume? Did you like the Wolverine mask at the end
I
and
didn't like the
everything?
bottom and I didn't like the top except for it looked the eye thing was like really cool because it mimics the old 90s like cartoons of that's how Wolverine's eyes look.
Right,
And I didn't put two and two together that that's what Deadpool's eyes look like. So
right.
when he did put the mask on, I was like, "Oh fuck, it's the Wolverine eyes from like the old costume." So I thought he looked kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I mean it's what he looks like, but I thought it looked more like a costume than like the way that the Marvel movies do it, where yes, this is what they look like in the comics, but it's like realistic. Whereas
Mm,
his did look like totally goofy. And they talk about that too. They're like,
right,
your
right.
costume is not the best. You know, like you look like you're on the Rams and like
Right, but then
yeah.
what a brilliant way for him to be like, I wear it now because I would never wear it before because I didn't want people to think that I wanted to be a part of the X-Men. But
Yeah.
now
Oh
they're
my
all
god, I'm gonna
dead and he
cry.
feels bad, and so he's wearing it because he would never wear it before. And I'm like, that's a pretty smart way to justify
Yes.
why he would ever wear that thing. I was like,
Yeah.
bravo. I think they came up with a good way to make it plausible to that he would actually be wearing it under his clothes because he feels guilty that he would never wear it before. So
Jam packed with references, jam packed with fan service, jam packed with action. Uh, I loved it, and it was satisfying. Let's put it that way. And like you said, rewatchable. Like the action and how fast paced the scenes are. It's just so much is going on to like really appreciate it. Like the montages go so fast, all of that. It's like I want to see it again. And I think it earned its place as like one of the best Marvel movies. He's like, that's it. You're in the Marvel universe. He's like, you're joining at a bit of a low point. He's like, all this multiverse shit. Can we just like stop doing it? It was just like fucking, it was
yeah.
like everything from the internet that people are thinking and saying, they're saying in the movie. It was wild.
I wish I had a notepad and paper or in a pen to write down some of those lines because there were some where I was like, wow, that was like a really funny, good line. And then
Yeah.
10 seconds later, I can't even remember it because it's like on to the next thing. And so there was so many things that I just thought were hilarious. I'm like, I can't even remember what they were. I loved the line about when they opened up the giant Ant-Man
Yeah.
layer, and then he made a joke about Paul Rudd finally aging, and I was just like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's such a good line. Like it's not even like offensive to Paul Rudd, like it's a compliment to him, but it's hilarious, and people always talk about how
Yes.
he never ages and just stuff like that. Or it's like, man, this is really good. So hats off to the writers. There was a lot of writers. I don't know if you noticed in the credits. There's like 4 or 5 of them. So I don't know if you read
Yeah.
that off at the beginning of this episode, but yeah, I'm sure they had a blast writing it because there was a lot of really good stuff in there. But
It was great. Baby knife. A baby knife
he
like
kept saying baby knife, and I thought that was funny too.
it was funny. It was funny. It was it the theater erupted in laughter at least 4 or 5 times. It was great. Any final thoughts? Any final I'm sure there is. There's just too much in the movie
There is a
to
lot. I
get
guess
in
the
there
one
and
thing
unpack.
that I maybe was expecting, you asked this earlier, I maybe thought we were going to get some more Disney references. Obviously,
Mhm.
he acknowledges Disney quite a bit, but like not a lot of Disney IP references. Like I was
Mhm.
expecting like some Mickey Mouse or other
Mhm.
things, and we didn't get any of that. So I don't know if Disney was like, you can mention us, but don't mention our like other like Disney properties. Like I thought that we were gonna get like cutaways to Disney movies or like an animated Deadpool or something, and we didn't get any of that stuff. So I was expecting more of that. I thought we were gonna see more of Lady Pool than we actually saw. I
Yeah.
loved I love Dogpool. I thought we got a lot of Dogpool, and I was
That
loving it.
tongue, my god.
Dude, that tongue's it's so real too. It's like not a fake tongue. Like that's a legit dog tongue, and I appreciated him. I loved how much. I loved what do they call him? Is it Happy Pool or
Nice pool or
Nice Pool?
whatever it
Yeah,
was.
his character
Yeah.
was hilarious. At one point, he's like, "Let me do a or fourth wall break," and he looks over and he goes, "The proposal." And Ryan Reynolds go, "Is that what people think I'm doing here?" And oh, dude, it's so funny.
Is
It
the
was so good.
proposal the movie with Sandra Bullock?
Yes, yes.
You know, I just watched that like
Did
the
you?
night before because my mom had it on and she loves that movie. It's a good movie. And they had it on and I'm like, man, they're really pushing Ryan Reynolds movies right now. So I had just seen it
That's
and
awesome.
it was just like, wow. It was a good movie. I like the
Yeah, I
proposal.
loved I loved him using Nice Pool as as a shield, a body shield, and then he gets
Oh my
shot a
god.
bunch.
And he's like a husk of like he's like, you're gonna live. I was like, why are we doing this right now?
So
And they're just like,
unnecessary.
fuck it. We're doing it for the laughs
Yeah,
and that's it.
yeah,
Oh my God. Good movie. Go and see it. Recommend 100%.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Movie Magic Reviews brought to you by Megadads. Join the conversation in the Discord. Probably create a channel just to talk about it, about the movie after you see it. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time. We'll see you at the movies.